be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas, and we have wonderful guests and introduce you to wonderful products. And this is one of those shows that introduces you to a wonderful, very helpful product. And let me bring on the CEO of VitaliaUSA.com, Mr. Fred Foster.
Hello, Gail.
Well, welcome, Fred. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you. So good to see you again this evening.
Yeah, same here. I've been using the product. I love it. And I'm always happy to share things with my audience about the significance of this particular product. And I think we have covered quite a bit in the past, but I thought we could cover some other things. Like, for example, just before we started, I asked you about, do you believe that it helps people to detoxify? And you said yes. Would you explain that or go into that a little more?
Well, absolutely, yes. Well, first of all, I'll tell you about my own experience. Personally, when I was a little boy, I used to like to go to the junkyards and gather up these large thermometers that way back, we're talking 70, 75 years ago, that the stores, the grocery stores, they put them on the outside of their buildings and so on to tell the temperature. And I used to like to go and gather them, and then I would get them, and then I would break the big bulb.
I can't believe you did that.
Play with the silver mercury in my hand because it was like a liquid ball bearing, and I could just roll it around in my hand, and I had no idea that it was harmful. But anyway, that mercury was in my body for all those years. And when I finally discovered these minerals and started drinking these minerals, in about 1 week, just about 1 week, the bottoms of my feet turned pitch black.
That's amazing.
What happened? Because I found out from the doctors that they said, it's that harmful mercury that is being forced out of your body through the bottoms of your feet because of these minerals. Well, that was just one of the ways that I detoxed, but there were other ways that I detoxed as well. And, come to find out, I have many, many lab reports that show how these minerals will detox hundreds of different toxins out of your body and out of the soil and out of animals as well. And so, yeah, there is.
So if you spray, when you said out of the soil, it kind of rang a bell in my head, because I know that our food and plants aren't nearly as nutritious as they used to be. So how would that work on the soil? Would you have to have it in the water that you spray the fields with, or how would you do that?
Well, yes. Yeah. There's for the agricultural use, Gail, there's several different techniques that we use. And if you're starting out brand new with a new field that's never had the minerals added to it before, then what you want to do is, say, a week or 2 weeks before you plant anything, you want to spray the ground that you're going to be planting in with a mixture of the minerals and water. And you do that about a week or 2 weeks ahead of time. And that will get the ground started to get the minerals in there, because then when you plant your seeds or your small plants or whatever you're going to be, putting in the soil, then they can start taking up those minerals, and it will allow the plants to become very, very healthy and green and very, very productive.
Actually carry some minerals that have been lacking significantly
Oh, big
over the
time.
years.
Like, you're right, Gail. For example, if you were to eat an orange today, it would take 10 of those oranges that you would eat today to equal a single orange that your grandparents ate back in your grandparents' day. Our fruits,
That's why
vegetables,
our older people are more healthy than our younger people in many ways. They're just not getting
they're
these.
not getting the minerals that are necessary. So therefore, we do have to take it into our own hands to mineralize the soil now. For example, when I first discovered these minerals for myself about 14 years ago, I did have a garden, and so I decided to do an experiment myself. And so I had, a lot of different plants, sweet corn and tomatoes and, strawberries and peas and beans and all kinds of things, green peppers, cabbages. Um, and so what I did is I divided my garden into two parts. One part was the way that I always made my garden and just watered with water, from my garden hose. I'd water it and everything. And the other half, I would use water that I added the minerals to. And so I was able to um, put the mineral water on half of the garden. My sweet corn, for example, Gail, it grew to be 9.5 feet tall. My ear
Whoa!
corn were just humongous, and they were awesome. And my grandkids would come over and they'd say, Grandpa, your corn tastes better than anywhere. It's so good. It's so moist. It's so sweet. And but the corn that was just watered with my regular water, like I used to always do, that was only 5.5 feet tall. And the ears were shorter, and a lot of the rows weren't quite all filled in and all that. But the rows of sweet corn that had the mineral water added to it, they were huge, and it was wonderful. And the same way with my tomatoes and for example, cabbages. Okay, my cabbages, the ones that I use the mineral water on, they turned out to be about 10.5, 11 inches in diameter. Compared that with the ones that just were watered were only 5.5 inches. And so it was a small cabbage compared to, the large cabbages, and they were so moist and hydrated that it just was very delicious to cook those cabbages. And the same way with the other vegetables too, as well. And so, I found out right away how important it was to add the minerals to the water for my garden. And so now today, Gail, we sell a lot of these minerals to the farmers and to Amish farmers, especially Amish farmers, because
That's interesting. Yeah.
they know what's going on, and so yeah, we sell a lot of the minerals to the Amish farmers. So that's one way. The other thing there, Gail, you mentioned that I do have fruit trees. I have apple tree, pear trees, and grapevines, and red raspberries, black raspberries, and all that, and grapevines. And so I sprayed the mineral water on all of that stuff now as well. And the other thing is bugs and insects and pests. They like to go after any plant that is damaged in any way. They like to go after the damaged plants. That's what they like to eat up. And so when you spray the minerals on these plants, it makes them healthy. And you know what? The pests go away. The insects go away. I used to have a lot of insects on the plants, even, the tomato plants, the green worms and so on. You spray the tomato plants down and they're gone. They
So
just
you take this water and you spray your crops with it then? Is that
yes, they do. And what you do, you add. In fact, what I spray is the same ratio of minerals to water that I use for my drinking water, which is 1 teaspoon per gallon, and that becomes your foliar spray solution. Is you take your gallon of water, you add 1 teaspoon. You could add 2 teaspoons if you wanted to, but anyway, and then I put that into a pump sprayer, and then I spray my plants. Now, one other secret that I did find out from a champion grower was that the magic temperature is 85 degrees Fahrenheit. If it is hotter than 85 degrees, then the plants, they will sweat and they won't take in the moisture of the water with the minerals in it. So if it is hotter than 85 degrees, what you have to do is cool those plants down below 85 degrees before you spray them with foliar spray. And then they can take in the mineral water, and it's very, very healthy for them.
So
And
are you telling me that if you lived in a really hot environment, you would want to probably spray the plant early in the morning before it gets too warm?
absolutely perfect. You understand it correctly. So the timing of your foliar spraying the plants with the mineral water has to do with the temperature of the air and the temperature of the plant at the time. So you would want to do it first thing in the morning or late at night after the sun, drops down and the plant can cool off, because it will not absorb. It will sweat instead, and it doesn't do the plant any good. It'll just drop off. But if you do it below 85 degrees, then the plant will uptake that mineral water, and it becomes extremely healthy. And so I was taught that by a champion farmer that won the national championship for the best corn crop in the nation. 4 years in a row, he won the top prize. And then he told me his secret. And I said, oh, I never knew that before. Thank you for sharing that with me. So now that's what I've been doing and sharing with my people that use the mineral water on their gardens and so on. And, I even spray my fruit trees, even spray the bark and the branches and the leaves. And you start doing that, early in the year, even late January and February, before you get all the blossoms on your apple trees and so on. You start spraying then. Spray right on the bark and everything. And what it does, it makes that tree absorb those minerals, or that plant, and it becomes more healthy. And when it's healthy, the insects don't like healthy things. They like the
Isn't that
putrid
interesting?
things.
Yeah.
So they go away. And so that makes your plants and your trees and your fruits and vegetables so much healthier. So that's another little trick that we do.
Somebody said, Tara says, insects are the garbage munchers of the realm. That's kind of true, Tara. Thanks for the comment. What was I going to say? I was thinking about something in terms of the plants. We haven't had any recent nutritional evaluations of the plants. So a lot of the USDA, where they show vitamins and minerals in the plants, I think that there's been a drastic reduction in those, but that's still the charts and so on that are used by people. So it's easy to say, oh, you can get everything from Whole Foods. It's not true unless you do something like this, because our soil has been seriously damaged. Our water has been seriously damaged. I mean, it's got fluoride in it. We got glyphosate. Those are major contaminants that we deal with on a daily basis. Now, the glyphosate in particular is a substance that binds the minerals in the diet so that you're not going to get your minerals. the way you normally would if we didn't have the planet and plants saturated with glyphosate. Now, you said you have had that third party tested, and it disassembles the glyphosate, or what?
Yes, it does. Yes, I have the lab reports that prove that show that it will remove the glyphosate from the soil. It will remove it even from your human body. That if you're
That's
drinking,
big right there. Yeah.
yeah, it's huge. It's huge. I mean, I have lab reports of hundreds of different poisons or toxins that these minerals will remove from your body, and also from the soil. And glyphosate is definitely one of them.
Glyphosate actually showed up on a hair analysis that I had done on myself. And so I'm happy and hoping that this removes it from my body.
Yes, we've had hair analysis done on a number of people, and it shows that the hair is much, much healthier. I've gone to meetings before, Gail, where when I walk into the meeting, I've had women that stop me and grab me and say, "Hey, Fred, I got to tell you what's happened to my hair. My hair is so much better now because I now, when I take a bath, I actually wash my hair in that mineral water, the treated water, like a mineral bath. That's one of the 3-part protocols that the doctor developed for the use of these minerals, a mineral bath, and that is where you add 3 to 5 tablespoons of the super mineral water to a bathtub of warm to hot water, and you can soak in that for half hour, 45 minutes, and it will make your skin silky smooth, so soft. It helps get rid of all kinds of blemishes on your skin.
You know what I've done, Fred, is that I don't have a bathtub. Okay. So I take a shower, but then I take a little spray bottle, something like this.
Perfect.
And it's got the mineral mixture in it, and I spray my hair and I spray my body again.
Yeah, that's what I recommend people that take showers and don't have access to a bathtub. If after your shower, because especially like down in Florida and some parts of the country, they have this chlorine that's in the water to purify the municipal water supply. Yeah. And it leaves your body with chlorine on it and everything. So after the shower, I recommend that people take that spray bottle, just like you have there, and after the shower, spray themselves down and then wipe it off with their hands before they towel dry. Then they can towel dry. And that will remove that chlorine and fluoride from the water that's soaking into your body, and it makes it much more refreshed as well. And the other thing that we recommend, because we have a lot of customers that have family in hospitals or nursing homes and so on, and they don't have access to a bathtub. So what I recommend is that they get a small little a foot bath tub thing, that you can stick your feet in, and then you put in, say, a teaspoon or a tablespoon full of the minerals into a 1 or 2 gallon little tub of water, and you soak your feet in that, and get a bowl of the water and put in a teaspoon in a bowl of water and soak your hands in it too. That will do as much for your body, almost as good as a mineral bath from the bathtub. So that's a very good thing to do as well. Besides the spraying down, what you did is awesome, Gail. That's what I recommend to a lot of people that don't have access to the bathtub.
Yeah. I've done another thing with that same spray bottle, which is kind of bizarre, but I'm sitting here thinking, I know that like if you, because of the nature of where I live, sometimes I'll buy a pre-made salad, right?
Oh, sure.
I actually, before I put all the extra things in it, I'll take and I'll spray the lettuce with this water, and I'll mix it up, and I'll make sure it gets good and sprayed, and I feel like it's taking away the toxins.
It does. It removes the toxins. In fact, what I recommend, people that are listening might want to do an experiment at home. If you go buy some strawberries from the store or some grapes, a bunch of grapes, and then you take a bowl of your regular treated water, the water that you fix, 1 teaspoon per gallon, and you make a bowl of water, of the treated water, and then you put your strawberries, your grapes in there, you swish it around, let it sit for a couple minutes, take it out, and then take a look at that water. It's horrible. You wouldn't believe the stuff that comes off the strawberries in the grape.
From strawberries too. Yeah, strawberries. If you look at a natural strawberry and one that's commercial strawberry, the ingredients on it, the natural strawberry is just a strawberry, but the ones there's a whole list of I've posted it many times on my Facebook page.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable how chemicalized strawberries are.
Mm-hmm. And grapes too. Yeah.
And grapes too, yeah.
So we recommend that you take a bowl of the treated water and you use it to wash your fruits and your vegetables. And you think, well, okay, like an orange, why would I have to wash an orange? Well, a lot of times people take their knife and they cut through the orange and cut right through the skin of the orange, the surface of the orange, and it takes that right down inside the orange. So if you wash that stuff off before you do that, before you take the knife and cut it up like that, then you're getting those toxins off the outside so that it can't go down on the inside of that fruit. So, we recommend that you use the treated water to wash your fruits and vegetables. We recommend you use it to make your coffee or your tea or your smoothie. Yeah. Any water-based drink, use the treated water. Absolutely.
And what I've done, if I didn't have treated water available when I made my coffee, because I didn't make enough up or something like that, I use a little dropper like this, right. and I put it in my coffee before I drink it. And I bet you it has, coffee has a tendency, I do try to buy low acid coffee, but it is kind of acidic, which isn't good for us. And so putting in the extra minerals, I'm sure, helps have a neutralizing effect on the acid.
Yeah, it makes it very, very healthy. And what we recommend is that you use 5 drops of the minerals to 8 ounces of your liquid.
5 drops.
If you had an 8-ounce glass, a cup of coffee, then put in 5 drops of the minerals in that cup of coffee. If you're not starting with already treated mineral water, if you're starting with treated mineral water, then you don't have to worry about that. But if you're doing what you said, well, I didn't have time to get the treated water, I just made up a cup, or got a cup of coffee at the restaurant or whatever. Yeah. Or even a glass of water at the restaurant. Take your minerals with you and you put in 5 drops for 8 ounces of water. That'll purify that water.
Yeah, I carry that little dropper in my purse. So if I do have to stop and get a drink, I put drops in there.
Oh, you're a very wise lady. Yeah, very wise.
But anyway, I just been very impressed with it. I feel better. I do. It's had a very good effect on my hair as well. I've had people ask me if I wear a wig because of partly because of my age, but no, I don't. And well, right now you can't see it; it's all tied back. But my hair is thick and full as a result of using the mineralized water as much as I do. I really
yeah, and my age, a lot of people can't believe I'm 79. I'm in my 80th year right now. And, I've been using these minerals for 14 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And
you don't look your age at all.
When I started on the minerals, I weighed 214 pounds. Today, I only weigh 165. I've lost all that weight. And in fact, the first 2 weeks of drinking the mineral water, I lost 14 pounds. My first 2 weeks.
That's amazing.
And I didn't change my diet, but I did change one thing, Gail, I have to confess. Back, 14, 15 years ago, I was a diet Coke. I know. I was evil. I was bad.
Yeah.
But you know what? I hated water. I hated drinking water.
Sound like my son.
I'd rather go pop open a can of pop or go get a glass of orange juice or some kind of juice. And I'd rather drink that than go and get a glass of water. I hated water. But after I was introduced to these minerals and started adding the minerals to my water, because what the minerals do to your water is they hydrate your body so much that the cellular hydration of drinking our treated mineral water is 32% cellular hydration.
What they don't know, they do know that hydration is a major issue for the for athletes. It will affect your performance. For older people, because they usually don't drink enough. And of course, if you're only absorbing 2 to 4% because you don't have any minerals in the water, you're going to have to be drinking an awful lot of water, and nobody wants to do that. And how much of it are you really absorbing? Very little, and then you're probably going to the bathroom way too frequently.
Well, you know, you hit on a good topic there, Gail. The scientists invented a drink for the sports athletes to hydrate them. And what did they invent? Gatorade. Now, Gatorade has been proven to hydrate the body at 8%. And they designed it for better hydration, 8%. But our mineral water is 32%. And it doesn't have any bad stuff in it like other drinks do. You know.
High fructose corn syrup.
Yeah,
for one.
Right. That's one bad thing. Yes. Now, I want to tell you one other quick story because you were talking about the plants and so on. I have some scientists down in Florida that have worked with the orchards, like the orange groves and grapefruit and so on. And there's a disease that has spread in Florida, and what happens is the whole orchard will die off. And the only way that they could treat that orchard is to plow all the trees down and plant brand new. Well, one of my doctor friends down there was working with this one orchard, and the trees were dying off and turning black. It's called citrus greening. And what happens is that the trees, they start to turn black and then they die off, and there's no more fruit. Well, one of my friends who's a doctor started spraying these trees that had the citrus greening, the black stuff on them, and started spraying the branches that were all dead and the trunk and everything. And also they put some special nutrients in the soil. They had some probiotics in it. And so the combination of the two things, the spraying with the minerals and treating the soil, it brought those orchards in the time span of 3 years, completely returned that orchard back to a healthy orchard. They didn't have to plow it under. In fact, they were so impressed with that, they invited me to come down to Florida and to go and tour this. And so I went to one orchard there that they had just been doing it for 1 year. And from the ground up, 1/3 of the way up the tree was nice and healthy. But then 2/3, for the top 2/3 was still black. But then the next year, another third became healthy. And finally, the third year, the entire tree was healthy. And I got to actually pick some fruit from those trees that were dead. And they were the most delicious oranges I've ever tasted. They were wonderful. But it was all because of being able to treat this orchard with our minerals. I treated mineral water. And also, they did use another supplement on the soil too as well. So it's a combination of the two things. But the main thing is that they were able to spray these trees. Another thing, spraying these trees would take the freeze zone down to 28 degrees. In other words, it had to get below 28 degrees in Florida for that fruit tree to freeze. And so so by spraying the tree, if the temperature did not drop below 28 degrees, then that tree was still healthy and it did not freeze. So that's
Wow.
a secret thing. So temperature is kind of important. I mentioned at the beginning that 85-degree temperature. Remember that for our plants and vegetables? That it needs to be below that, for the plant to absorb the moisture. And if it's above that, then it sweats and it doesn't absorb. It doesn't do you any good. So you have to do it during the time of the day when it's cool enough, or in the case of, winter freeze, it has to be above 28 degrees, and if you're spraying it, then it keeps the temperature, the bottom.
That's amazing.
28 degrees. Yeah, it's wonderful.
That's interesting. I wonder why that happens. I don't know the science behind it, but it's pretty fascinating that it does. Yeah.
So that's
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was thinking that one of the things that I think is so important nowadays is that it's very important for people to take the best possible care of themselves as they can, because I think we will have a lot to go through going forward. And the healthier you are, I mean, your wealth doesn't matter if you don't have your health.
Oh, how sad that is, but true. Yes, that is.
So,
well, Gail, I told you before, I was crippled. When I was 65, I was severely crippled. I couldn't even pick up a pen or pencil. I couldn't even make a fist. I had arthritis throughout my body so bad that I could hardly, I couldn't even sign my name. I had to get a signature stamp. I was 65 years old and crippled. And I think I've told the story before on your program that when I started drinking the mineral water, after I discovered it and started drinking it, on my third day, my hands completely freed up. And before, that was as tight of a fist as I could make right there. But after my third day, I could complete flexibility, no more pain in my hands. And then on my fourth day, before, just raising my arm like that, terrific pain in my shoulders. But on my fourth day, no problem anymore, no more pain. And the fifth morning, when I opened my eyes in bed, what I used to have to do, I used to have to push myself over onto my side and then push myself over onto the edge of the bed. And then I used to have to push myself up to a standing position, kind of bent over till I could take my first steps. But when I walked like a crippled old man at 65 because I was severely crippled. But that the fifth morning, when I opened my eyes in bed, I realized I don't have a single pain, Gail, anywhere in my body. No pain. And here I was on prescription pain meds twice a day, plus a whole bunch of other meds too. But anyway, that fifth morning when I opened my eyes, realized there's no pain. Instead of doing the 3 pushes, I just leaped out of bed and I started hopping up and down, jumping all over my bedroom, twisting my body every which way to see if there's any pain that was gone. Yeah, that's been over 14 years ago.
Well, I think that is so important for people to get to that point, because I think we have some wonderful abundance coming forward, and you want to be in your best possible health to be able to enjoy that time period where they talk about nothing can stop what's coming, and what's coming is good things.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
What I really recommend to my friends is to get a supply of these minerals and have a little abundance of supply of these minerals to tide us through that time, because these minerals will purify the most polluted water in the world. And that's what attracted me to it in the first place. Because, when I was younger, my wife and I took our 3 sons camping out in Colorado. And it was on July 4th of 1976.
I remember this one.
Remember that? Yeah. 200th birthday of our nation. and we were above the tree line in the Rocky Mountains, and the snow was still on the mountains on July 4th, melting and forming these little rivulets. And my sons were thirsty. They said, "Dad, can we have a drink from that?" That.
And you would think you're up in the mountains, you would think that up there it would be cleaner, more pristine.
Well, I looked
And
around. I didn't see any
then,
animals or yellow snow or anything like that.
uh-huh.
So I said, "Okay, yeah, it probably would be okay."
And it looks
No,
okay, but it's not okay.
it was not okay. It ruined our vacation for the next 3 days. Yeah, 3 days of diarrhea. It was terrible. But anyway, I learned my lesson. They learned theirs. And actually, it was my remembering that experience when I got an email that said that if you would like to learn how to purify the most polluted water in the world, sign up for this water webinar. And so I did sign up for that because of that experience. I have the north branch of the Kalamazoo River runs right through my property. I have 7 acres on one side of the river and 21 acres on the other side. Excuse me. And so I thought, well, it'd be nice to know how to purify that water. I don't want to make that same mistake again in case we need to learn how to drink water because we don't have a good source of water anymore. So I signed up for that water webinar. And it was in that water webinar that I learned that people that were drinking this special water that was made from adding these minerals to the water, it helped their arthritis tremendously. Now, I didn't sign up for that water webinar to think anything about health for myself. It was just to purify the water. But when I heard that, it completely changed my thinking. And so at the end of that water webinar, they said, well, if anybody would like to order any of these minerals, for themselves, you're welcome to do that. So I did. And so I ordered some. And when they came, then I told you what happened in the next 5 days.
When you saw that demonstration,
Yeah.
how long did it take for the water to clear?
Okay. I saw this man pouring this liquid into this pond that was filthy, filthy polluted. You couldn't even see 2 inches down below the surface. Excuse me. So they used time-lapse photography, and it took several hours, probably 8 hours or more, excuse me, for those minerals that were added to that pond to completely purify that pond. So where at the beginning you couldn't even see 2 inches below the surface, by the end, you could see all the way to the bottom, 15 feet below. You could see the turtles crawling in the bottom, the fish swimming and everything. And so it took about 8 hours.
I was wondering how long that would take. Because if you had, I was thinking of trying to do a demonstration sometime. I don't know. You had a glass full of dirty water and actually show it happening.
I've done that many times, Gail. I used to go to these meetings, where I was invited as a guest speaker, and I would take my minerals in the water, and what I would do, I in the town, I would go to the local stores, whether it was a Kroger store or Kmart or, Myers or, whatever kind of store in that town, and I'd buy some bottled water. I'd buy about, 3 or 4 different kinds, and at the beginning of my talk, I would show them, okay, here's your bottled water that's supposed to be pure and everything. And let's just see. So at the beginning, I took my eyedropper and I dropped some of the minerals in each of the bottles and just let it sit there while I was talking and explaining about that. Towards the end of that talk, say 45 minutes into it, well, you could see the bottles of water start to gather these ashes in the bottoms of the bottles, where when you add, and I'll explain why that happens, but when you add these minerals to water, it will purify that water, and I'll explain how that works in a minute. As it's purifying that water, it actually burns up the chemicals or the toxins, the poisons that's in that water, and when it burns them up, then the result is ashes will form and then fall to the bottom of that container, that bottle, and you can actually see them. And there's some water that is more pure than other waters, But then there's other water that is supposed to be pristine clear. And here, just by adding these minerals, you can see all these ashes in the
And
bottom.
these are supposed to be, and people are buying this water thinking
Oh,
it's already
absolutely. I
purified.
buy them right at their store. And I open them right there in front of them. You know, you hear the cap crack open, you know, and all that. Yeah, I did that just as a demonstration, just like what you're saying.
So now I got a question. If you drink this bottle of water and it's got that in the bottom of it, is that totally inert at that point and it's not going to harm?
The ashes, there's a chemical change that takes place when these minerals are added to water that's got the toxins or poisons in it. The chemical change actually makes that toxin inert. It changes it, it burns it up, and it forms ashes. Now the ashes are now inert. And if you were to drink that bottle and you would drink down the ashes, it wouldn't hurt you. Those ashes would just pass through your body, and it would not harm you like if you were to drink that bottle without the minerals burning up those toxins, because then those toxins can get in your organs, can get in your cells, and they accumulate. And see, that's one of the three bad things that happens with people. And so I should address that. What is actually happening when you add these minerals to water and you drink this water with the minerals in it? You know, well, first of all, you know, the doctor that I've worked with that developed the 3-part protocol for using these minerals says that there are 3 main reasons why people get sick and ill and ultimately diseased. And one of them is for a lack of high quality minerals. And, you know, it's just not in our water supply today.
We're so heavily involved in all the chemical and metabolic reactions in the body. The minerals are the catalysts, so to speak. And our diets have become extremely deficient in minerals. But now, how is this mineral water, super mineral water, how is it different than other minerals? Like I've seen other minerals on the market that, you know, they say they are trace minerals, and some of them are liquid, and some of them are in capsules. How is this different?
Well, one difference is if you were to take a trip down to the bottom of the septic tank at your home, you would see minerals that have not been absorbed by the body, that have been passed through, and they go down into the septic tank in the form of little teeny tiny stones. Many of the minerals that are made and sold in the store as minerals, and they are minerals, but they're made from stone, and so they are not absorbed by the body.
They're made from stone?
Yes, they are. They're ground up stones. Yeah.
Oh, for heaven's sakes!
Yeah, they're ground. And so it doesn't replenish the body with the type of minerals that we need, and so they'll just pass through your body, but they're not absorbed by the cells or the organs, and you know, they just fall to the bottom of your septic tank. Whereas our minerals, they are liquid minerals that come from the depths of the earth. They're made naturally in the earth in volcanic regions. And the scientist that discovered these minerals, he was an atomic scientist that was hired by the Japanese government to come and find a way to remove the radioactive isotopes from the waters around Hiroshima and Nagasaki from World War II. And it was while he was on that quest that he discovered these minerals. And come to find out, when he took up these minerals back to his lab, these minerals did indeed remove the radioactive isotopes from the waters around, that were radioactive. And so he discovered the solution to what he was hired to do by accidentally coming across these minerals that he found on an island well, he saw on an island just off the coast of Japan that there was this tree. It looked like it was growing out of a solid rock. And there was no dirt, no soil, and yet this tree, this healthy tree, was growing. And so finally, his curiosity got the best of him. So he got a boat and went out to that island to examine why was that tree so healthy looking. Well, that tree was growing into a crack in this giant granite boulder that had cracked, because this boulder came out of a volcanic eruption, and what blew out of the volcano and landed, and it cracked. Now this crack went through these black streaks in the granite boulder. Now the black streaks, Gail, they were called biotite, or another name for black mica. And so anyway, now the rain came along and filled up that crack, and that crack went right through these black streaks, and the black streaks of biotite or black mica, it started to dissolve some of that black mica, and it became mineralized water. And so a bird flew along and dropped a seed from a tree in that crack and in that mineral water.
That's amazing.
And that seed then grew into a tree, and it became very healthy with no soil, but it got its nutrients because the rain kept replenishing and getting the black mica dissolved out of that rock, and it became a very healthy tree. So he was very surprised at that. So he took some of that mineral water, took some of the black mica back to his lab, and discovered that this mineral water with this black mica actually did remove the radioactive isotopes. And then I have other stories about that later on that developed from the U.S. government that I'm not supposed to tell. But anyway, I do sometimes. But yeah, it is amazing what happens. Now you asked about these other minerals. Yeah, there's lots of minerals for sale out there. You can find them in capsules. You can find them in powdered form.
In liquid too.
But it's not the same as these liquid minerals that come from deep within the earth and made in a volcanic area. So what this scientist did, he got to studying how these minerals came about, and he researched what happens in the earth in volcanic regions with the lava that is flowing, and how this lava comes across these granite boulders with the black streaks in it. And because of the pressure and the temperature, it completely dissolves that black mica into a golden colored, crystal clear liquid called the golden elixir. And the golden elixir actually was discovered by ancient alchemists that used to think that, okay, we can make gold out of this golden elixir. So they tried to take this golden elixir and mix it with lead to try to make it into gold. They never succeeded at that. But what they didn't realize is that the liquid that they had was more precious than gold even. So now this atomic scientist, he was able to reproduce that golden elixir. Right? He invented some special machinery to replicate the conditions there deep in the earth. And then he searched all over the earth for the highest quality biotite of black mica. And when he found it, then he patented ways of extracting that into a golden colored elixir. And that is from which we make our minerals today.
Wow, that's amazing.
If you don't have the natural stuff, you're not going to get. Now, there's rocks and so on. It's, mineral rocks, minerals are all over, but they're not the same. That's
not as absorbable. The bioavailability is critical.
That's exactly right. That's right. So I started to say what this doctor discovered. The scientist gave some of these minerals to his friend, he turned out to be a medical doctor, cancer surgeon. And so he started experimenting with these on humans for the first time. And so he developed a 3-part protocol. And one part was taking this mineral water and adding 1 teaspoon of the minerals to a gallon of water to purify that water. All right. And that has become what we call treated water. And it's the water that you use to drink, that you spray on your garden, that you clean your fruits and vegetables, that you make your coffee or tea or smoothies out of, and soups and so on. That's the water that we use typically. And then the second part of the protocol was that if you take first thing in the morning an extra dose of these minerals, what we call a booster drink. And that is first thing in the morning before anything else goes into your stomach, what you want to do is you want to take a glass of the treated water. It could be 6, 8, 10, 12 ounces. I don't care how many ounces, a glass of treated water. And then you add to it, you boost it with an additional teaspoon of minerals, of the super mineral water, to make it extra mineralized. And the extra teaspoon, typically, it's supposed to be 1 extra teaspoon per 100 pounds of your body weight. So say you weigh 150 pounds, then 150 pounds is 1.5 extra teaspoons. So you would take your 6, 8, 10, 12 ounce glass of treated water, and then you would put in an extra 1.5 teaspoons to become a booster drink. And then you drink that down in the morning before you're eating.
It really does boost you.
Oh,
it increases your energy.
Oh, it gives you great boost of energy, clears your mind.
Clarity, mind, yeah.
And it also detoxes your body, because what happens then is that, because of the cellular hydration of 32%, that gets into your cells so much better. And what happens is that just like when the scientists cleared up that pond and got rid of those toxins, this booster drink will clean up your body as well. And you'll start getting rid of those toxins. And when that happens, that's why, somebody that's worked around glyphosate and they get that glyphosate poisoning, and it will get that out of your body. Anybody that's had lead poisoning in their body, it'll get that lead out of your body. Anyone like me that had the mercury throughout my body, it got rid of that mercury out of my body. And the other things it did for me, Gail, I used to have floaters in my eyes. In 3 months, my floaters were gone. I work with computers. I was the vice president in charge of computers all around the world. I worked with computers all my life. And I developed floaters, and I used to have to rub my eyes, to get rid of those floaters because they'd get in the way. I couldn't see the characters on the screen. So I'd rub my eyes to get rid of them. Well, in 3 months, they were gone. I didn't realize they were gone until 3 months later. I realized, hey, I'm not rubbing my eyes anymore. I don't have the floaters anymore. They're gone. They're gone.
So it just shows how when our body is toxic, we're dealing with glyphosate, chlorine, fluoride, strontium, barium, aluminum, all of that from the chemtrails.
Oh, yes.
All gathered, in our body because of the exposure that we have. And this is a way to actually start to really clean your body.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. And so that was just the second part of the protocol. Remember, there's a third part that the doctor developed, and that's what we call the mineral bath. And that's where you fill up a bathtub with water, or your foot bath tubs or whatever, pans. And then if you have a bathtub, you can get in and soak for a half hour, 45 minutes. Now, so a bathtub, because there's so much water there, you need to add 3 to 5 tablespoons of the minerals. And then you soak in that for half hour, 45 minutes. That will leave your skin so silky smooth. I've even treated entire swimming pools. And I used to love to swim in that swimming pool because you get out.
Chlorine is so stinky, even that I think, oh, geez, I don't even know if I want to go in a pool anymore because of there's other ways of cleaning it that they don't use. They prefer that. It seems like it must be cheaper to use the chemicals than some type of ozonation or something like that. Whereas this would be a very simple, you probably wouldn't need that much. And you could add it and clean it with this super mineral water. Correct?
Yes. Well, I had a person that just bought a brand new pool, and it was filling it with water, they'd have these big water trucks come with us 500-gallon tanks and so on and fill the pool. And I said, okay, well, let's treat it from the very first day with the minerals. So I figured out how much minerals to add to that swimming pool. And, they never had to put any chlorine or bromide or any of those other harsh chemicals in the pool. And it was just wonderfully refreshing to swim in that pool from then on.
I bet. Wow.
Right.
Well, now we talked about plants, and I think I'd like to remind people that the Amish use these super minerals. And their farming and their produce is extremely good. Anyway, and then we talked about the human and plant applications. What about animals? What have you experienced?
Oh my. We become the best friends with animals with these minerals. I had a dog that I just love that dog. She was a wonderful dog. And but my dog got sick. And so, like a good dog owner, I took it to my vet. And my vet looked at the dog and said, oh, I'm afraid this dog might have developed, I think it might have cancer in its gastrointestinal area. He said, that is beyond the scope of my clinic here. If you really wanted to treat it for cancer and so on, you have to take it to East Lansing to the Michigan State University Veterinarian Hospital. And it'll cost you between $3,000 and $6,000 for a dog.
Don't tell me they're going to chemotherapy the dog or radiate the dog.
They said it cost you $3,000 to $6,000 to take it there to analyze it. And I thought, oh, that's kind of steep. So I went home and decided, well, if these are good for me, maybe they'd be good for. So I started giving my dog the minerals in the dog's bowl of water that it drank. So I started treating my dog. My dog started drinking that water. In fact, he loved that water. And if I put down 2 bowls, one of just regular water that he used to always drink, she used to always drink, beside a bowl of the treated mineral water, it would always go to the bowl of treated mineral water. Why? Because it quenched the dog's thirst. It made it feel so much better. It gave it so much more energy.
I think I need to give some to my dog. She's having a problem here with, since I came here, she never had any, I don't know, she's allergic to something. I don't know what's going on with her, but she's, scratched hair off and she's got sore spots. I was going to give her a flea treatment. I don't know if that's what it is, but she never had this until we moved here. And I'm very, very concerned about her health right now.
Absolutely. Give her the same treated water that you drink. Let her drink the same thing, 1 teaspoon per gallon or 2 teaspoons per gallon. It doesn't matter. But get your dog on the water and just give her the treated water to drink. After that, and I took my dog back to the vet, and the vet examined the dog and said, what in the world did you do to this dog? This dog is so much better. I can see. And I said, well, I started the dog on the same mineral water that I drink, and I'm starting to give it to the dog. And he says, well, I can see that this dog is so much better. I don't have any medicine that I can prescribe for dogs and cats that have the gastrointestinal problem like your dog had. I would like to try some of these minerals for some of my other patients. And so I gave him like 6 bottles. And I said, yeah, try them out, with your. And he called me back and he said, Fred, if you need a veterinary spokesman for these minerals, I am it, because I have seen miracle after miracle with these animals that are brought into me with these problems that have been resolved because of drinking that mineral water. And so I will be a spokesman for you if you need a veterinarian spokesman. I thought, wow, that's amazing.
I don't even know why I didn't think of it. I should have been doing this already. But I'm going to start that with my dog.
The animals. Because all living things, Gail, all living things require minerals, healthy minerals.
Yeah.
And it's not just us humans, but our pets, our animals. And I have stories. In fact, I want to tell you some of the stories about the pets. You want to hear some of those stories?
Sure.
And as I mentioned to you, I work with the Amish too, and of course they have animals. And I'll tell you some stories about their pets and so on. But yeah, this veterinarian, one of his patient families moved out to Kansas and wrote back to him to Michigan saying, "Hey, we can't find these minerals out here. Would you mind sending them to us? Because we can't be without these minerals for our dog." So he did, and so on. But anyway, he was getting requests from his customers, for these minerals. So that's just one. I have other veterinarians that use these minerals a lot as well. But let me tell you about two pigs. Okay, this Amish family, they raised pigs, and two of the baby pigs, they just fell over on their side. They couldn't stand up anymore. They couldn't eat. They couldn't drink. They couldn't do anything, and they were dying. And so this Amish family that I already started on the minerals for themselves, and the miracles happened for their family. I can share some of those stories with you too. But anyway, he decided that he would take one of these turkey baster, the big bulb, and squirt up some mineral water. And so he got that treated mineral water in that baster, stuck it in the pig's mouth, and squirted it down their throat. In less than 2 hours, both pigs were standing and walking around and started eating and lived full term. If he hadn't done that with the minerals, they would have died. That's just one story. Now, across the street from them came another family. This family raised chickens and geese and turkeys and ducks. And, they were a poultry farm and sold that to all the Amish people for their meat and the English people as well. And the family that had the two pigs, she called me one day and she said, "Fred, we got new neighbors across the street. They just moved in. And the wife, she has cancer, severe cancer. And she is going today to see the cancer doctor in Kalamazoo. And I'm wondering if there's any way you could talk to her about these minerals before she goes, just to let her know about them." I said, "Sure, I'll be right over." So I went over to their house and I took some minerals with me and I explained to her, how these minerals were discovered and how the cancer surgeon was able to bring over 50,000 cancer patients to complete remission with these minerals. And I explained to her, it's the only thing that I know to do that has really helped people with cancer. Now, she had stage 4 lung cancer. She had a large black spot on her lungs that it was very serious, and she was knocking at death's door. And so finally she made the appointment with the cancer surgeon in Kalamazoo, and she was going to go over there. And I explained to her about the minerals, about the cancer doctor, and how they've helped so many people. And she said, "Yeah, well, I'd like to try them." So she got a bottle of them to keep with her. And then she had to go because the English driver came and picked her up to take her over to Kalamazoo. And so the cancer surgeon in Kalamazoo examined her and said, "Yeah, you have a very high marker for lung cancer. You're at 192 on this scale, and we've got to operate on your lungs very, very quickly. In fact, we'll schedule it for next Saturday. You come back next Saturday, and we'll do the surgery then." So she went home, and then she had my bottle of minerals. And so all week she did all 3 parts of the protocol that I told her to do. Every day she started drinking the treated water. Every day she'd take the booster drink first thing in the morning. And then she started doing the mineral baths. And so then the next week came along and she went back to Kalamazoo to that doctor, to the cancer doctor. And he said, well, honey, just before I put you under, I just want to do the test again and make sure that nothing has changed. So he tested it again, and that scale of 192 was down to 46. And he said, what in the world happened to you during this week? That's impossible for that black spot to go down like that in 1 week. We're not going to do the cancer surgery today. No, I want to wait and see what's happening with you. Whatever you're doing, I want to wait and see. Well, so scheduled another appointment with her. She went back. And now instead of 46, it was down to 6 on the next appointment. And then the next appointment was down to 2. And the next appointment is at 0. That cancer in her lung was completely gone. All right. Now, I tell that story just to tell you the mindset of this Amish mother of 9 Amish children. And her husband was really scared at the beginning that he was going to lose his wife and he'd have to take care of all 9 kids himself. But anyway, they had all these chickens and ducks and geese and turkeys and so on. And they got a new shipment of these chickens in. And they got 25 little chicks in this little shipment. And 9 of those chicks fell over on their side and couldn't stand up anymore on the first day that they received them. Well, she knew what happened with her. And so she did this completely on her own. She went and got an eyedropper, the little squeeze thing, an eyedropper. And she got some of her treated water that she's been drinking, and she squirted that treated water into those 9 chicks. 8 of them recovered fully. The 9th one was too far gone. It never made it. It died. But the other 8 lived to full term. And
wow,
there's a disease that starts with a C, and I'm not a chicken farmer. I can't remember the name. I could look it up, but it starts with a C. And once that hits a flock, it spreads through the entire flock, and all of them die. And so she was able to get that under control on the first day that they arrived. And so she didn't lose any more, just that one.
Yeah, and what were they just killing thousands of chickens or millions of chickens not too long ago, saying they had the bird flu or whatever, where they could have done something like this. And I mean, because that's intentional to starve people, but
that's part of the deep state. Yes,
that's unfortunate.
But there's other stories. I have horse stories too, and let me tell you some more dog stories. I love dogs.
I love dogs too, and I gotta fix my little dog. I'm gonna start doing that. I haven't. I don't know why I didn't get her on the minerals. But
I have a lot of friends at church that I've handed these minerals out to, and I have hundreds of stories of miracles that have happened because of these minerals. But I love dogs too, and this one family had this dog. It was getting kind of old, and they used to like to let the dog go out, and the dog could jump down the stairs. There were 3 steps off their porch down to the ground outside, and it could get down, but it could not get back up. They had to go out and physically pick up that dog, carry him back into the house and set him down. And that dog used to love to jump up on the couch and lay on the couch with him. And it could no longer do that. It didn't have the strength to do that anymore. So they were telling me about their dog, and I said, oh my, what you need to do is start your dog on this mineral water, just like I did with my dog.
I got to do that too.
Said, well, my dog. Do you think it would help? I don't know, but you can sure try it. What harm would it do? Well, they started giving this dog the mineral water, same drinking water in this bowl. The dog loved it, and the dog perked up so that now it could jump up and down. It could climb up and down those steps. It could jump up on the couch again. It was like a puppy again after just a short time on the mineral water. That's just one story.
Just shows how important minerals are to life in general, not only animals, humans, plants.
All 3. All living things require this these minerals, like the waters that, like a lot of times I might go speaking as a guest speaker in a church, say, and I used to have fun with the congregation. I would say, well, you all know the story about the Garden of Eden and so on, and the water there. Do you think, the fish swimming in that water, the birds flying over it, you think that water in the pond there in the Garden of Eden, you think that ever got polluted? And most of the congregation was, oh, no, that was the Garden of Eden. That was perfect, everything. I said, well, I kind of think that maybe it did. But the way that God designed the water and the purification, because the fish swimming, they're going to go to the bathroom, the birds are going to drop things into the water, leaves are going to fall in and rot, there's going to be some pollutants added to that water. How was the water originally on earth purified? Well, that's where then I would tell the story of how the atomic scientists discovered the magma that flows under the water, under the ground, and encounters the granite boulders with the black mica, and it turns it into golden colored, golden elixirs, what the alchemists used to call it. And then that golden colored elixir would then travel with the magma. It would get spewed into the lakes, the ponds, the rivers, the bodies of water, the water aquifers, and it would purify that water. It would purify it. That's how the waters of the earth was originally purified. But then, man came along and so polluted this earth that, the natural way of the minerals getting added to the bodies of water is not enough to keep up with the pollution that has happened. And man is polluting this water, whether it's in the chemtrails or the factory stacks or diesel fumes from the trucks and the cars and everything. There's so much pollution that.
And then pesticides on the runoff.
Yes, the glyphosate was one of the worst things that ever happened to fertilizer. Yeah. Anyway, so now we have to take matters into our own hands. We have to do it ourselves. We have to take this and purify the waters ourselves. And we I have so many stories I could tell. But anyway.
Well, here Lee Coffey is talking about using ivermectin. Ivermectin is a parasite killer. I don't think that parasites would thrive as well when you're healthy and mineralized. Do you have any comments on that, Fred?
Yes, I do. Just like plants, the diseased plants attract the pests, the insects. Mm-hmm. They attack them, And if our body is healthy and pure and so on, then we do not have the same kind of problems that sick people have, because sick people attract the disease mechanisms that come along and so on. But we got ivermectin. I've given it to my friends. I've had 2 guys in the hospital with severe COVID, and one of them was the boss of my son. He was severely sick. They were getting ready to put him on the respirator and give him, let's see, what was that? At the beginning, the doctors were prescribing this medicine to give all the people with COVID. And of course, they all ended up on a respirator and then died. Yeah. But I won't go into all that stuff that was going on there. But my wife and my wife was an RN, and talked to his wife, and we got her to sneak some stuff into the hospital and to give her husband. Well, he did not have to go on that respirator, and he got well and released and came home, and he lived, and he's healthy today. Okay. Now, the second one moved away, I lost track of him. He had the same type of things happen to him. But in the hospital, they did put him on the respirator. And of course, he died. He didn't get the same thing.
Sometimes that was the plan from the very beginning.
If you knew how much money the hospitals got for each one that died, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to talk too much about that, but anyway, it happened.
It did. And I hope people are aware of what was going on, because they became killing camps, actually. But like I said, we don't want to go into that too much.
No.
But the need for minerals is great. And these aren't just ordinary minerals. These are very special minerals that, when put in your water, can actually mineralize your body and not just go right through. It just, when you told me about the stones in the septic tanks, it just reminded me of where people that, some of the certain vitamin hard tablets out there, they end up in the same place.
Yes, right.
So
But they'll take your money for them.
yeah, isn't that the truth? Yeah. So much out there. We've been so hoodwinked about so many things. It's sad. You just assume that some of these companies actually care, but many of them, they really don't. It's always about, the bottom line is always the buck. How much can be made.
That's true.
So,
I'll tell you one more story. I said I had even horse stories. One of my friends, who became a distributor of my minerals, is a veterinarian that has horses. And one day the horse came to her, and his one eye was completely swollen shut. Couldn't open its eyelid at all. It was swollen shut, and she could see that it was, infected. So she quickly got her spray bottle of the minerals, the treated water, like what you use in a shower and so on. And she got that spray bottle with a treated mineral water in it, and she sprayed the horse's eye, just sprayed all around it. And the next day, the horse came back completely eye opened, could see again, happy, and so on. And it completely cleared up the infection that took place in that eye. I have so many stories of people healing too with these minerals. I myself, oh my, I have a lot of stories I could tell of my own healing. Surgery done on my own body that I used the minerals on, and it just shocked the surgeons. That, like, for example, when I was younger, I used to love to golf, and I hated sunscreen. And so would I go out and golf and put the sunscreen on? No, I don't need it. I'm a man. I don't need that sunscreen. Well, I got, skin cancer later on in life. And so...
Well, it's actually from the chemicals in the air, not from the sun itself. But anyway.
Yeah, whatever it was, I developed it. And so, they said, well, okay, we'll do what we call Mohs surgery. And so they cut out around it, and then they take it under a microscope and they look at it and they say, okay, yeah, there's still some cancer cells on the outside edge. So we got to go in again and take a little bit more out, a little bit bigger circle. So until it shows up on the microscope that there's no more cancer left out there. And then you're done. They said, so anyway, they came to me, and my wife just sent me a note. Anyway, sorry about that.
Okay.
They came to me and said, okay, there's two ways that we can finish this up. We're done with your surgery. We could, instead of the circle, because we can't sew up a circle, that'll definitely leave a scar. But if we cut out some more skin on two sides of it, opposite sides, and turn it into a football shape, then we can stitch that up and the scar will be much less. Or we could just, if you're okay with this, we could bandage it up and let it heal from the inside out and not stitch it up at all and just let the skin heal naturally. And I said, well, I don't have any more speaking engagements. Let's let it do it naturally. So I went home and then I put the minerals, treated water, right on my surgery site. And I had to go back in 3 weeks, for them to check it and make sure that was healing right and there wasn't any infection and that kind of thing. And so when I went back in 3 weeks and they looked at me and they said, wait a minute, we got to go get your file. So I went and got my file because they took pictures of it, pictures of my surgery site. And they wanted to see the pictures. And they looked at the date and they said, 3 weeks, this is impossible. Because when I went back, it was already healed. And they said, no, it can't be. 3 weeks, that surgical site should not heal in 3 weeks. But they looked at the pictures. What in the world did you do? How did you do that? Well, the minerals did it. They do the healing. I've used the minerals on a lot of different things. I had one guy that he became one of my distributors. He had a hot tub, and he loved going in his hot tub every day. And of course, we mineralized that hot tub so that we didn't have to use any chlorine or bromide or any harsh chemicals at all. And he'd go into that hot tub every day. But he was a woodworker and a carpenter, and he was cutting a board on his table saw. His hand slipped, and he cut the tip of his finger off in that table saw.
Ouch.
And they went and got the tip of his finger and they wrapped it in a cold washcloth and rushed him to the hospital. And the surgeons were able to sew it back on. So now he had this sewn on piece of his finger on the end of his finger. And the doctor said, no, I know how much you love your hot tub, but you cannot put that surgical site, your finger, under the water. You can wrap it up with plastic or whatever you want, but you have to hold it above the water. Do not dip it in the water. So that day he went home and he did exactly what the doctors told him to do, held it above the water. But the second day he said, forget this. So he stuck his hand in the water, the mineralized water from his hot tub, and ignored what the doctor said. Okay, so 3 weeks later, he had to go to a different doctor for something else. And he held up his finger to that second doctor. He said, see here, see where I had the tip of my finger cut off? And the doctor, yeah, I can see it. And then he asked him, well, Doc, how long ago do you think it was that they sewed that back on for me? So the doctor looked at it, held his hand. And, well, I can tell you how long it's been. Based on how it's healing, it was 3 months ago. And he said, no, it was 3 weeks ago. The doctor said, what? How can that be? That's impossible. They can't heal that fast. Well, it did because it was in the mineral water. And the mineral water, let me tell you the three main things that causes all sickness, illness, and disease. That was taught to me by the cancer surgeon. Okay, 3 things. One is lack of high-quality bioavailable trace minerals. Right? We as human beings, we need trace minerals, and we're not getting them in our diet. So that's number one. We need them. Number 2 is that there's a buildup of toxins in our body. The air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat. We live in a very toxic environment.
Yeah.
And because of that, that adds to the development of sickness and ultimately disease. And then the third thing is, believe it or not, is stress. And there's all kinds of different stress in our life, whether it's physical stress or chemical stress or
emotional stress, psychological stress.
Yeah. Stress is stress, no matter what the source of it is.
Financial stress.
All right, that's the stress.
Goes on and on.
And when you put these 3 things together, Gail, what happens is that it causes our own immune system that God designed in our bodies in the first place to help us heal from the pathogens that enter our body. Our own immune system starts to shut down. when these three things come together at the same time, lack of high quality trace minerals, toxins build up in our body, and stress. Both those three things can cause us to get sick and then ultimately ill and then ultimately diseased. Now, what happens when you start on this mineral protocol? It starts developing health in our bodies, and it handles all three areas of that stress and that buildup of toxins and that lack of high quality trace minerals. And when those three things are handled, guess what? Our immune system starts functioning again. See, homeostasis, balance in our body comes back. We lose homeostasis when these three things happen to us and our immune system starts to shut down. But we can get it back if we go back on the minerals that was designed for us to partake of. And so that's why I have so many people. I have so many people that had stage 4 cancer, like that lady I told you about. That was the poultry farmer, the Amish lady. I have many, many other ones. I had a lady fly up from Mexico because she had 3 stage 4 cancers in her body, and the doctors there in Mexico told her, you have less than 3 months to live. Go home. There's nothing anyone can do for you. Go home, get your will in order, and prepare for your last days. And so I'd been working with a doctor in Flint, Michigan, because of the water crisis in Flint. And we'd been doing meetings every Tuesday night for 2 years straight, helping the people of Flint. And anyway, she found out about that doctor. She called him and said, Doc, he said, do you think there's anything that you could do? And he said, well, there might be. Why don't you fly up here? So she flew up to Detroit Metropolitan Airport in Detroit, and he called me and said, Fred, I got a patient flying up from Mexico. Bring your minerals and your protocol instruction sheet and come and meet her with me if you would. And so I did. And I went over with her, what all was developed by the cancer doctor and so on. And I said, it's the only thing that I know to do for you. She had stage 4 cancer on her abdomen. It was the size of a large grapefruit, a big ball on her abdomen. Hideous looking cancer on the outside skin. Mm-hmm. She also had stage 4 cancer in her bones and also in her liver. 3 areas. And that's why the doctors, the cancer surgeons in Mexico said, there's nothing anyone can do for you. You've metastasized so badly that we can't do anything. So she came up there. I gave her the protocol. I gave her the minerals, told her exactly what to do. So she stayed with some friends there in the Detroit area. And I never saw her or talked to her myself again. But she was the patient of the doctor that I'd been working with in Flint. So that was on a Friday afternoon that I gave her all this stuff. And then on Monday, the doctor saw her again for the second time 3 days later. Well, when he examined her, that growth on her stomach in 3 days, it was gone. But when he pressed on her stomach where it used to be, it was still there, but it shrunk down to the size of a walnut under her skin. Wow. Then he saw her again 3 days later after that, on Thursday, and now that walnut was gone. He tested her bones and her liver. He said, I can't find any sign of cancer in any of these 3. It's time for you to fly back to Mexico. Go back to those same cancer doctors. Have them repeat those scans that they did to tell you that you were in stage 4 and 3 areas and told there's nothing anyone can do. Have them repeat those tests. So she did. They repeated the test when they found out that it was gone. All 3 areas, completely gone. In 1 week, it was gone. They couldn't believe it. They just could not believe it.
No, that is hard to believe. I mean, it really is. I mean, what else has ever to do with that sort of diagnosis? Has anyone ever had anything happen that quickly? So that is really totally amazing. And they totally followed the 3 protocols that you spoke about, correct?
That's right, yes. And I have lots of stories like that, Gail. Just over 14 years, I've had so many people, women with breast cancer and so on, completely healed in less than 2 weeks. And just so many things. How can I disbelieve it? I mean, I can't prove it. I can't guarantee it. Let me put it that way. I have no idea who is going to get the healing that they need. My advice, well, you just have to try it and see for yourself.
Right. Well, that is, and they would go to vitalausa.com and they can read about and order the super mineral mineral water if they want to.
Yes, that's correct.
And I tell you what, I have been enjoying it since I've started using it, and now I'm going to use it on my dog, and I'm going to let you know how she responds. I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner. I just didn't think of it, but I've been very concerned about her. And
yeah, and if she has spots on her skin, or
yes, she does.
Then spray her with your spray bottle with the minerals. Spray her.
Okay.
Spot.
Okay. I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's been itching, and I got to do something about the fleas, and I don't want to use the poison or whatever. But it's this anyway. I'm going to start. I'm going to see what happens with the water.
Okay, sounds good.
Anyway, we're ready to call it a wrap, shall we say?
Well, we could talk all night, Gail.
I know. Well, we're already at an hour and a half, so I'm going to have to
okay. Let's
shut her down. But we'll do this again in a few weeks, and just to remind people of the possibilities when you have the right tools to work with to improve your health. And
how would you like me to give your listeners a little gift tonight?
That'd be awesome.
Tell you what, if they go to vitalausa.com and if they place an order for either the 32 or the 16-ounce bottle, at the end of placing that order, there's a coupon code that they could enter in. If they enter in GOG, that stands for Gail of Gaia. Okay, GOG. It doesn't matter if it's capitalized or lowercase. I don't care. Just enter GOG. And they will get a discount off the price of their minerals.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Yes, and I'll have to put that in the description so people don't forget about it. So remember that GOG, and you can get a discount, and you can try this amazing super mineral water. And believe me, you do need minerals.
I'm sorry, I know we're out of time, but just tonight I learned that my partner, he's an executive for what used to be Chrysler Company, and he's an upper echelon manager there for them. And one of the other managers there has a son with autism. And
that's right.
He asked me to send him, the other manager a bottle of the minerals because of the autism. So I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll gift her a bottle of the minerals. So I sent it to her. Well, he told her today, okay, it was a 4-year-old son, and that 4-year-old son never talked in his whole life, would not look her in the eye at all. But now that he's on the minerals, he is now standing up. He is now talking in sentences, and the other day he started singing. 4 years old.
Wow.
I have many, many stories of autism that have, especially the sooner you can get a person with, that spectrum, the better it is, the more healing that can take place. I've also had, children that were, 19, 20, 26 years old. It can help them some, but it's just so far gone. But if they're young, if you can catch them when they're young like that, it can be reversed.
Wow.
I have so many stories.
Yeah, somebody's talking about, I've been yelling at people for years about the water and no one ever listened.
Yeah.
The water is critical, absolutely critical. And we don't get anywhere near enough of it. And I'd like to repeat one last time before we call it a show, and that is the difference in the absorption of your regular water is what, 2 to 4% at best.
That's correct.
And with this treated mineral water, it is hydration
32%. 32% cellular hydration, yes.
That is huge.
It's very huge.
That is very huge.
What that does for our health is amazing.
Yeah, and that's true that Lee is bringing up the parasites, and the parasites don't grow as well in someone who is well hydrated and has the minerals they need.
Mineral water, the parasites come out of their bodies. I have many stories like that too. But we only have 1.5 hours. That's all we got tonight.
Well, we'll come back and we'll talk about parasites next time. How's that sound?
Okay, whatever.
Let's do
That's
that.
fine.
Okay.
So
Yeah. I just gotta, it gets to be hard to upload and download and spread around. So we're gonna call it a night tonight. And let me put this out, and let me put the caption back up so that people know where to go. Again, it's www.vitalausa.com. And there's information on the site, and you can go there and see that as well. Thank you so much, Fred. This is life-saving information.
It really is. I've seen so many people's lives actually saved on the deathbed. On the deathbed, I brought them back.
And that is totally amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this wonderful information with people. And thank you, audience, for listening. And I hope you take heed. This is very important for your health and well-being. And thank you, Fred, so much.
Okay.
We have found our way. It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are, and like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers, stronger than ever. Never say never. Don't look back now. Don't look back now. Rise up, stand with each other. We are sisters and brothers, finding our place and running the race. We'll take our chance and seize the moment. Hold on tight and don't let go of all your hopes and dreams that light the way. We control our fate. Destiny awaits. We are all the actors in the stories we create. Hope will be our guide. We'll no longer hide. When we roll like thunder, feel the wonder from inside. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one